Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at the screen in her small lab aboard the space station. The numbers dancing across the display made no sense. She had been tracking radio signals from deep space for 3 years, but nothing like this had ever appeared. Before the space station called her eyes and floated in the darkness near Jupiter. It was one of Earth's most distant research posts, built to listen for sounds from the stars. Lisa worked there with 11 other scientists, far from the noise and lights of Earth. She pressed a button and played the signal again. It came in short bursts, each one lasting exactly 3 seconds. Between each burst was a pause of exactly 5 seconds. The pattern repeated over and over without change. Computer, analyze signal pattern, she said to the machine. Pattern shows mathematical sequence. Prime numbers detected. Signal appears artificial, the computer replied in its flat voice. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. Prime numbers were special. Only intelligent beings would send prime numbers into space. This was not natural noise from a star or planet. Something out there was trying to talk. She walked quickly down the mail hallway to find Captain Jake Bennett. Jake was the man in charge of the station. He was sitting in the control room, reading reports from Earth on his tablet. Jake, you need to see this, Lisa said, her voice shaking with excitement. Jake looked up from his tablet. He was a big man, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 20 years and had seen many false alarms. What is it now, Lisa? Another pulsar pretending to be aliens. This is different. The computer confirmed it. The signal contains prime numbers in a clear sequence, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Then it starts over. Jake sighed and followed her back to the lab. He looked at the screen showing the signal data. The pattern was too clean, too perfect to be natural. Where is it coming from? He asked. Lisa pointed to another screen showing a star map, Proxima Centauri. The signal is coming from the direction of our nearest star neighbor. Jake rubbed his chin. He had served in Earth's space navy before taking this job. His training taught him to be careful about unknown signals. Could be equipment failure. Could be interference from our own ships. I checked everything twice. This is real, Jake. Someone is sending us a message. For the next week, Lisa recorded every signal. The pattern never changed. Prime numbers, pause, prime numbers, pause. Then something new happened. After sending the same prime number sequence 50 times, the signal changed. Now it was sending pictures. Simple black and white images that formed basic shapes, a circle, a triangle, a square. Then more complex images, a solar system with planets around a star. The third planet from the star was marked with a special symbol. Lisa called Jake to the lab again. Look at this. They are showing us their solar system. That marked planet must be their homeworld. Jake stared at the screen. Even he could not deny what he was seeing. How long have they been sending this? The signal started 3 months ago. But I only noticed the pattern last week, Jake. They have been trying to talk to us for months. Jake made the hardest decision of his career. He sent a message to Earth reporting the discovery. The message would take 43 minutes to reach Earth at the speed of light. The answer would take another 43 minutes to come back. Wow. They waited. More signals arrived. The aliens began sending mathematical formulas. Simple equations at first, then more complex ones. They showed the speed of light, the force of gravity, and the structure of atoms. It was like a basic science lesson for children. They are teaching us their language, Lisa said. They are showing us that we both understand the same universe. When Earth's reply finally came, it was not what they expected. Admiral Kate Sullivan's voice crackled through the speakers, Horizon Station. This is Earth Command. Continue monitoring, but do not respond. Repeat, do not respond to the signals. We are sending a team of experts to your location. Jake turned off the radio and looked at Lisa. They want us to stay quiet. But we have to answer, Lisa said. The aliens are trying to be friendly. They are teaching us, not threatening us. Earth Command knows what they are doing. We follow orders for 2 more weeks. Signals kept coming. The aliens sent more pictures. They showed their cities, their technology, their art. Everything looked peaceful and beautiful. The buildings were tall and curved like growing plants. The aliens themselves appeared in some pictures. They were tall and thin with large eyes and skin that seemed to glow with soft light. Lisa grew frustrated watching without responding. They probably think we are too stupid to understand them. We have to show them we are smart too. Jake shook his head. Orders are orders. We wait for the experts from Earth. Then something changed. The aliens sent new coordinates. Not their home system, but a meeting place, a point in space between the star and Earth's sun. They sent the coordinates over and over, along with pictures of spaceships traveling to meet at that location. They want to meet us, Lisa whispered. They are asking for a meeting in neutral space. The message was clear. The aliens were offering first contact with humanity. They had chosen a location where both species could travel safely. They were giving humans the choice to meet or not meet. Lisa looked at Jake. This is the most important moment in human history. We are not alone in the universe. Jake nodded slowly. For the first time since the signals began, he smiled. No, we are not alone. The question is, what do we do about it? The signals continued coming from the stars, patient and persistent. Somewhere out there, an alien intelligence was waiting for humanity to decide if they wanted to take the next step into a larger universe. Lisa Martinez had started her shift 3 weeks ago, expecting another routine day of listening to empty space. Now she was part of the team that had discovered humanity was not the only intelligent life in the galaxy. The universe had just become a much more interesting and dangerous place. Commander Ryan Clark stood on the bridge of the UCS Explorer, watching the red star grow larger on the main screen. 3 years had passed since they left Earth. 3 years of traveling through empty space to meet beings from another world. The ship was small compared to the big military vessels back home. It carried only 12 people, all experts in different fields. Dr. Lisa Martinez was with them, the same woman who had first heard the alien signals. She stood next to Ryan, looking excited and nervous at the same time. Sensors are picking up something, said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. She was the ship's military expert, always watching for danger. There's a large object ahead. It doesn't match any ship design in our database. Ryan moved to the sensor station and looked at the readings. The object was huge, maybe 10 times larger than their ship, but it wasn't moving like a normal spacecraft. It seemed to flicker in and out of existence, like a light being turned on and off very fast. That's impossible, Dr. Martinez said, studying the data. No ship can phase in and out of normal space like that. The alien vessel suddenly appeared directly in front of them, so close they could see its surface through the main window. It was beautiful and strange. The hull seemed to be made of crystal that changed colors as they watched. Patterns of light moved across its surface like living things. They're trying to communicate, said the communications officer, but not by radio. The signal is going directly into our computer systems. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. The aliens could access their computers without permission. That meant they had technology far beyond human understanding. Words appeared on every screen in the ship at the same time. They were in perfect English, as if the aliens had been studying human language for years. Welcome, humans of Earth. We are the Valthani. We have been waiting for you to accept our invitation. Please allow us to bring you to our homeworld. You will not be harmed. Ryan looked around the bridge. His crew was staring at the screens with amazement and fear. This was the moment they had trained for, but nothing could have prepared them for the reality of meeting aliens. Send a reply, Ryan ordered. Tell them we accept their invitation, but we want to keep our ship. New words appeared on the screens. Your vessel will be protected. Step into the light that will appear in your main corridor. Do not be afraid. A soft blue glow filled the ship's central hallway. It was warm and peaceful, making everyone feel calm. One by one, the crew walked into the light. Ryan felt a strange tingling sensation, and then everything went white. When his vision cleared, he was standing in a place that looked like a dream. The room was large and filled with soft, colorful light that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The walls were smooth and curved, made of the same crystal material as the alien ship. The other crew members stood nearby, looking around in wonder. They were clearly inside the alien vessel, but the space was much larger than should have been possible. The interior is bigger than the exterior, Dr. Martinez whispered. They found a way to expand space itself. 3 figures approached them from the far end of the room. They were tall and graceful, moving like dancers. Their skin was pale and seemed to glow with inner light. Their eyes were large and dark, filled with ancient wisdom. They were flowing robes that changed color as they moved. One of the aliens stepped forward and spoke, but the words formed directly in their minds rather than through their ears. I am the one you may call seeker of truth. We welcome you to our vessel. We have traveled far to meet with your species. Ryan tried to speak out loud, but found his words also appeared as thoughts that the aliens could understand. We are honored to meet you. We have many questions about your people and your technology, and we have much to teach you, Seeker of Truth replied. Your species shows great promise, but also great danger. We represent the Eternal Covenant, an alliance of peaceful species that has maintained harmony across the galaxy for 50,000 years. Dr. Martinez stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her nervousness. How many species belong to your covenant? 147 worlds now live in perfect peace. Under our guidance, each species contributes their unique knowledge and abilities to the greater good of all. War, hunger, and suffering have been eliminated from Covenant space. Lieutenant Foster asked the question that was on everyone's mind. What do you want from humanity? Seeker of Truth's mental voice became warmer, almost like a parent speaking to a child. We want to offer you the same gift of peace and prosperity that we have given to all Covenant members. Your species has expanded very quickly through your local region of space. This rapid growth has attracted our attention. Is that good or bad? Ryan asked. It is unusual. Most species take tens of thousands of years to spread beyond their home system. Humanity has colonized dozens of worlds in just a few centuries. Such rapid expansion often leads to conflict and chaos. The alien gestured, and the walls around them became transparent, showing the space outside. But instead of empty darkness, they could see thousands of points of light, each representing a Covenant world. We offer you membership in our alliance. Your people would gain access to technologies that would solve all your problems. Disease would become unknown. Death from old age would be optional. Energy would be unlimited. All we ask in return is that humanity abandon the primitive concepts of individual nations and competitive economics. Double quotes. Dr. Martinez felt excitement building in her chest. The medical and scientific advances alone would transform human civilization. But something in the alien's mental voice made her uneasy. What exactly do you mean by abandoning our current systems? She asked. The Covenant maintains peace through harmony of thought and purpose. Individual desires that conflict with the greater good are gently discouraged. Aggressive tendencies are redirected toward productive activities. All members think and act for the benefit of the whole. Lieutenant Foster understood immediately what this meant. You're talking about mind control. We prefer to call it mental harmonization. It is a gift, not a punishment. Covenant members never experience the stress and conflict that plague independent species. They are truly happy for the first time. Ryan looked around at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. The aliens were offering to change human nature itself, to make humanity into something completely different. We need time to consider your offer, Ryan said carefully. Of course. We will take you to our homeworld so you can see the benefits of Covenant membership for yourself. Perhaps witnessing our peaceful civilization will help you make the right choice. The crystal walls began to glow brighter, and once again everything went white. When Ryan's vision cleared, they were looking down at a planet unlike anything they had ever imagined. The world below was covered with floating cities made of living crystal. Gardens of impossible beauty spread across continents. There was no sign of industry or pollution. Everything looked perfect and peaceful. But as Ryan watched the alien world grow larger on their approach, he wondered what humanity would have to give up to live in such a paradise, and whether a paradise built on changing human nature was really paradise at all. The UCS Explorer returned to Earth after 8 months among the Valthani. Commander Ryan Clark walked down the ship's ramp carrying a mail case filled with alien artifacts. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Martinez held a data pad containing everything they had learned about the Eternal Covenant. The landing pad at Geneva Spaceport was crowded with officials, scientists, and reporters. Everyone wanted to know what the aliens had offered humanity. The news of first contact had already spread across all human colonies, causing excitement and fear in equal measure. President Helen Brooks met them at the landing pad. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had led Earth's government for 6 years. Behind her stood Admiral Kate Sullivan and General Paul Adams, the two people who controlled humanity's military forces. Welcome home, President Brooks said. The whole world is waiting to hear what you learned. Ryan looked tired after the long journey. Ma'am, we need to talk privately first. What we discovered will change everything. They moved to a secure meeting room in a government building. Ryan opened the metal case and pulled out several crystal objects that glowed with soft light. Even turned off, the alien technology was beautiful to look at. The Valthani have offered us membership in their Galactic Alliance. Ryan began. They promised to solve all our problems. No more disease, no more aging, unlimited energy, and perfect peace. That sounds wonderful, President. Brooks said. What's the catch? Dr. Martinez spoke up. They want to change us. The Covenant maintains peace by altering the minds of all member species. They remove aggressive thoughts, competitive instincts, and individual ambitions. General Adams leaned forward. You mean they want to control our minds? They call it harmonization. Every Covenant member thinks the same way, wants the same things, and works for the same goals. There's no conflict because there's no disagreement. President Brooks picked up one of the crystal artifacts. It felt warm in her hands and seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. What did their world look like? Perfect, Ryan said. Beautiful. Cities, no pollution, no crime, no poverty. Everyone was happy and peaceful. But they were also empty, like they had lost something important that made them who they were. Dr. Martinez had spent weeks studying the Valthani technology hidden in their gifts. She had found disturbing information. I discovered records about other species that joined the Covenant. Each one was different before they joined. Warriors, artists, explorers, traders. After joining, they all became the same, peaceful, obedient, and without any desire to grow or change. Over the next month, President Brooks called emergency meetings with leaders from every human colony. The quantum communication system allowed representatives from Mars, the asteroid belt, and distant star systems to participate in real-time discussions. The debates were fierce. Some colony leaders saw the Covenant as humanity's salvation. Dr. Marcus Webb from the Lunar Research Station argued that joining would end all human suffering. We could eliminate war, poverty, and disease in one generation. How could we refuse such an offer? But Colonel Nina Rogers from the Frontier Worlds disagreed. What they're offering isn't improvement, it's extinction. They want to turn us into something we're not. Our strength comes from our diversity, our competition, our willingness to take risks. The arguments continued for weeks. Religious leaders debated whether the aliens were angels or demons. Scientists split between those who wanted alien technology and those who feared losing human creativity. Politicians worried about maintaining their power in a world without nations or governments. Dr. Martinez made a breakthrough while studying the alien artifacts in her laboratory. She found data fragments that told the true history of the Covenant. The Valthani weren't always peaceful, she announced to the Global Council. 5,000 years ago, they were a warrior species that conquered other worlds through military force. She displayed images on the main screen showing ancient Valthani battle fleets and weapons of incredible power. They joined the Covenant voluntarily, but the harmonization process erased their warrior nature completely. Now they can't even remember what they used to be. Engineer Tony Garcia had been working with the alien technology, trying to understand how it worked. Their science is incredibly advanced, but it's also stagnant. They haven't invented anything new in thousands of years. The harmonization process doesn't just remove aggression. It removes the curiosity and ambition that drive innovation. This revelation changed the debate. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood before the Global Council and spoke for many when she said, "We've seen what happens to species that accept the Covenant's offer. They become perfect, peaceful, and powerless. Is that what we want for humanity?" President Brooks called for a final vote. The chamber fell silent as representatives from 47 worlds made their choice. The vote was close, but clear. Humanity would decline the Covenant's invitation. "We will send a polite response," President Brooks announced. "We thank the Valthani for their offer, but we choose to remain independent. We propose a limited exchange program instead, cultural and scientific cooperation without the harmonization process." Dr. Martinez was chosen to draft the official response. She wrote carefully, trying to sound grateful while firmly declining the offer. "Humanity appreciates the generous invitation to join the Eternal Covenant. However, we believe our species can contribute more to galactic civilization. By maintaining our unique perspective and independence," the message was sent toward Proxima Centauri, carrying humanity's decision across the void. It would take for years for the signal to reach the Valthani, and for more years for their response to return. But humanity didn't wait. President Brooks authorized the construction of 5 new exploration ships. Using insights gained from studying Valthani technology, the ships would be faster and more advanced than anything humans had built before, but they would be operated by human crews with human values. "We're going to expand our presence in the galaxy," she announced to the world. not as members of someone else's alliance, but as ourselves. We'll explore new worlds, meet new species, and grow as a civilization while keeping what makes us human. Some people worried about the consequences of refusing the covenant. Others celebrated humanity's choice to remain free. But everyone agreed on one thing. They had just made the most important decision in human history. In her private laboratory, Dr. Martinez looked up at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, the Valthani were probably discussing humanity's refusal. She wondered what they would do next. One thing was certain. Humanity had chosen the harder path. Instead of accepting easy answers and perfect peace, they had chosen to face the universe on their own terms. It was a very human decision, and Dr. Martinez hoped it was the right one. The stars seemed brighter that night, full of possibility and danger in equal measure. Captain Steve Morgan watched the scanner display with growing concern. The UCS Pathfinder had been exploring the edge of human space for 6 months, but every time they tried to cross into unexplored territory, the same thing happened. Ships appeared from nowhere and politely asked them to turn back. "Another patrol, sir," reported Lieutenant Dan Carter from the sensor station, "same as the last 3 times. They're not threatening us, but they're not letting us pass either." Steve nodded grimly. For years had passed since humanity declined the Covenant's invitation. The Valthani had responded by creating an invisible wall around all human colonies. No human ship could expand beyond the borders they had set. The alien patrol ship was beautiful and strange, made of the same crystal material they remembered from first contact. It moved without any visible engines, sliding through space as smoothly as a fish through water. Words appeared on the ship's communication screen, written in perfect English. "Human vessel, you are approaching the boundary of your designated space. Please return to your home systems. This message is sent with friendship and concern for your safety." Steve had seen this message dozens of times, always polite, always firm, always the same. "Send our standard reply," he told his communications officer. "Covenant vessel, we are peaceful explorers seeking new worlds for colonization. We request permission to pass through this region." The response came quickly. "Permission denied. The Eternal Covenant has determined that human expansion beyond current boundaries would be harmful to galactic stability. Please return home." Steve felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Understood. We are turning back." As the Pathfinder changed course, Steve looked at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. Humanity was trapped in a cage, and the bars were invisible, but unbreakable. "Sir," called Dr. Linda Hayes from the science station, "I'm detecting something unusual. There's a derelict ship drifting in the asteroid field ahead. It's not human or Valthani design." Steve made a decision that would change everything. "Take U.S. closer. If it's not in Covenant space, we have a right to investigate." The derelict ship was ancient and battle-scarred. Hull plates were missing, and the interior was open to space. But it was clearly artificial, built by intelligent beings who understood advanced technology. "The design is completely different from anything in our databases," Dr. Hayes reported as they approached. "But some of the technology looks familiar, similar to what we've seen from the Covenant, but older." Steve ordered a boarding party to investigate. Dr. Hayes led the team, floating through the dead ship's corridors in their spacesuits. The interior was filled with frozen air and floating debris, but the ship's computer systems were still partially functional. "I'm accessing their data banks," Dr. Hayes reported over the radio. "Most of the information is corrupted, but I can make out some records. The ship belongs to a species called the Zephyrins." Back on the Pathfinder, Steve listened to her report with growing interest. What happened to them? According to these records, they developed faster than light travel. About 800 years ago, they were expanding rapidly through this region of space when they encountered the Covenant. Dr. Hayes found more data as she worked deeper into the alien computer. The Zephyrins were offered membership in the Covenant, just like us, and just like us. They refused. Steve felt his blood run cold. What did the Covenant do? They created a quarantine zone around Zephyrin space, cut them off from new resources and new worlds. The Zephyrins tried to break through the barriers, but the Covenant was too strong. Eventually, their civilization collapsed from resource depletion and internal conflicts. The implications were terrifying. The Covenant had done to the Zephyrins exactly what they were doing to humanity. Slow pressure, patient waiting, until the trapped species destroyed itself. Dr. Hayes continued exploring the derelict ship and made an even more important discovery. "Steve, You need to see this. The Zephyrins developed something called space folding technology. It allowed them to bypass normal space-time and appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Did it work? The records are unclear, but it looks like they were testing it when their civilization fell apart. The technology requires enormous amounts of energy and has significant risks, but it could theoretically allow travel without using normal space lanes. Steve realized what this meant. If humanity could master space folding technology, they could bypass the Covenant's barriers entirely. They could expand into regions of space the Covenant couldn't monitor or control. When the Pathfinder returned to Earth, Steve took his discoveries directly to Admiral Kate Sullivan. She listened to his report with growing excitement and concern. "This changes everything," she said. "If the Covenant has done this before, they'll do it again. We're facing a slow-motion war, and we're losing." Admiral Sullivan called an emergency meeting of the Colonial Defense Council. Leaders from across human space gathered to hear about the Zephyrin discovery. The Covenant doesn't need to attack U.S. directly, Admiral Sullivan explained. They can simply wait for us to collapse under the pressure of isolation. No new worlds means no new resources. No new resources means stagnation and eventual decline. General Paul Adams studied the data from the derelict ship. How long do we have? Based on the Zephyrin timeline, maybe 50 years before resource shortages become critical, maybe less if our population continues growing. But engineer Tony Garcia had been studying the space folding technology with growing excitement. This could be our way out. If we can master this technology, we can expand beyond the Covenant's reach entirely. Dr. Marcus Webb, now Earth's chief scientist, was more cautious. The energy requirements are massive, and the risks are enormous. One mistake could destroy an entire ship and everyone aboard. We don't have a choice. Admiral Sullivan said firmly, "We can try to master this technology, or we can wait for the Covenant to slowly strangle our civilization. I know which option I prefer." President Helen Brooks authorized a secret research program to develop space folding technology. The best scientists and engineers from across human space worked in hidden laboratories, racing against time to unlock the secrets of the ancient Zephyrin discovery. Meanwhile, on the outer colonies, the effects of the Covenant blockade were becoming visible. Trade routes were disrupted by mysterious equipment failures. Communication arrays malfunctioned at critical moments. Resources that had been abundant suddenly became scarce. Frank Miller, Earth's intelligence chief, compiled reports from across human space. The Covenant is applying pressure in dozens of subtle ways. They're not attacking us directly, but they're making life difficult for our frontier colonies. The message was clear. Join the Covenant voluntarily or face slow economic and technological strangulation. It was a choice between freedom and survival, and the Covenant was betting that humanity would eventually choose survival. But they didn't understand humans very well. The harder the Covenant squeezed, the more determined humanity became to find another way. In her laboratory, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked on modifications to the Zephyr space folding equations. The mathematics were incredibly complex, but she was beginning to understand how the technology worked. It's not just about folding space, she explained to her research team. It's about stepping outside normal space-time entirely. We're not traveling faster than light. We're traveling through a dimension where distance has no meaning. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Chief Engineer Ben Scott, working on closed-loop life support systems for the outer colonies, realized that the same principles could be applied to space folding technology. "We don't need to generate the energy for space folding," he announced to the research team. "We need to borrow it from the universe itself and pay it back when we arrive at our destination." It was a radical idea that violated everything they thought they knew about physics, but it worked. The first successful space folding test transported a small probe to the edge of the solar system, and back in less than a second, humanity had found a way to escape the Covenant's cage. But using the technology would mean taking enormous risks and venturing into the unknown regions of space beyond the galaxy itself. The question was, did humanity have the courage to take that leap into the dark? Commander Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the UCS horizon, watching the strange swirls of color outside the main window. They were traveling through folded space, moving faster than light, but not through normal space-time. The journey to the edge of the galaxy should have taken hundreds of years. Instead, it would take only 3 days. Spacefold Drive is operating within normal parameters, reported Chief Engineer Ben Scott from his station Energy levels are stable. We should reach the target coordinates in 36 hours. Alex nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. He was leading the first wave of humanity's greatest adventure. 12 ships carried everything needed to build new colonies beyond the galaxy itself, where the Covenant could never find them. Behind them, humanity was taking the biggest gamble in their history. Instead of submitting to the Covenant or waiting to slowly die, they were leaping into the void between galaxies. It was dangerous, unknown, and completely insane. It was also perfectly human. Dr. Sarah Kim worked at the science station, monitoring readings from the space outside their ship. The void between galaxies isn't empty like we thought. I'm detecting rogue planets, ancient structures, and energy signatures that don't match anything in our databases. Lieutenant Mike Foster looked up from the tactical station. Could be dangerous. We don't know what's out here. We don't know what's behind us either, Alex replied. The Covenant made it clear that we join them or slowly die, at least out here. We have a chance to build something new. When the fleet finally emerged from folded space, they found themselves in a region that defied all expectations. Floating in the darkness were dozens of planets that had been thrown out of their home galaxies millions of years ago. Some still had atmospheres, others showed signs of ancient civilizations. It's incredible, Dr. Kim whispered, staring at the scanner readings. There are ruins everywhere, structures that must be millions of years old. Alex ordered the fleet to approach the largest planet in the region. It was covered with the remains of massive cities built by beings who had mastered technology beyond human understanding. But the cities weren't empty, abandoned long before humans had even learned to make fire. Landing party, prepare for surface exploration, Alex commanded. We need to know if this place is safe for colonization. Dr. Kim led the team down to the planet's surface. The ruins were made of materials that should have crumbled to dust ages ago, but they stood as solid as the day they were built. Strange symbols covered the walls, telling stories in languages no one could read. These beings were refugees, Dr. Kim announced after studying the symbols for hours. According to these records, they escaped from the main galaxy to avoid something called the Great Absorption. What's the Great Absorption? Alex asked over the radio. I think it's the Covenant. These records go back 50,000 years, to when the Covenant was just beginning to absorb other species. Some civilizations escaped to the void rather than submit to harmonization. Alex felt excitement building in his chest. Are there any survivors? I'm not sure, but some of these energy readings suggest active technology. We might not be alone out here. Over the next week, the human fleet discovered 3 other species living in the void. The Krell were massive beings who looked like walking mountains. They had refused to join the Covenant 20,000 years ago and had been living on rogue planets ever since. The Nethys were energy beings who existed partially outside normal space-time. The Vorthen were small but incredibly intelligent, masters of technology that made even Covenant science look primitive. All 3 species had the same story. The Covenant had offered them membership. They had refused, and they had been forced to flee beyond the galaxy to maintain their independence. The Covenant calls it the Great Peace, explained Krell speaker bolder that moves through their translation device. We call it the Great Death. Every species that joins becomes something else, something smaller and weaker. Alex called a meeting of all 4 species to discuss forming an alliance. The human ship's main bay was converted into a conference room, where beings who had never met before could work together. We propose a new alliance, Alex announced to the gathering, not based on forced harmony, but on voluntary cooperation. Each species keeps their own nature, their own goals, their own way of life. Nethys Prime, speaking through pulses of colored light, expressed interest. Humans expand quickly. This could be useful for exploring new regions and finding more refugee species. Vorthen leader Quick Mind analyzed the proposal with typical efficiency. Alliance benefits all members. Shared technology, mutual defense, coordinated exploration. Covenant cannot follow us here. Over the following months, the 4 species worked together to establish the first colonies in the void. Human engineering skills combined with Krell strength, Nethys energy manipulation, and Vorthen technology to create settlements that could thrive in the harsh environment between galaxies. Meanwhile, back in the main galaxy, the Covenant discovered humanity's escape. Seeker of Truth led a Valthani delegation to Earth, demanding an explanation for humanity's disappearance. President Helen Brooks met with the aliens in the same room where they had first declined. The Covenant's offer, we told you we preferred to remain independent. You tried to trap us, so we found another way. You do not understand. Seeker of Truth replied, his mental voice showing confusion and concern. The void between galaxies is dangerous. No species can survive there alone. We're not alone. President Brooks said with a smile, we've found friends, species who, like us, prefer freedom to forced peace. The revelation shocked the Covenant. In 50,000 years, no species had ever successfully escaped their influence. The fact that humanity had not only survived but thrived in the void was beyond their understanding. This is impossible, Seeker of Truth insisted. The harmonization process is necessary for survival. Species cannot maintain peace and prosperity without our guidance. Dr. Lisa Martinez, now elderly but still sharp, spoke from her wheelchair. Maybe peace isn't the highest goal. Maybe growth, change, and freedom are more important than safety. 6 months later, the Covenant sent another delegation. But this time they were not offering membership. They were asking for help. Several Covenant species had heard about the Alliance in the void and were questioning the harmonization process for the first time in thousands of years. Some of our members remember what they were before joining us, Seeker of Truth admitted. They want to know if it's possible to return to their original nature. Alex Turner, now back from the Void colonies, met with the Covenant delegation. The Alliance is open to any species that wants to join voluntarily, but you have to come as you are, not as the Covenant has made you. The offer created chaos in Covenant space. For the first time in millennia, member species began to remember their pre-harmonization cultures. Some wanted to leave the Covenant and join the Void Alliance. Others preferred to stay with the familiar peace they had known for so long. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had started that change simply by refusing to accept limitations. Dr. Martinez looked up at the stars from her laboratory window one last time. In the distance, she could see the lights of ships traveling to and from the Void colonies. Humanity had expanded beyond the galaxy itself, carrying with them all the chaos, ambition, and stubborn independence that made them human. The universe had expanded at the speed of light for billions of years, but human dreams and determination had expanded faster, reaching beyond the limits that others thought impossible. We never stopped moving forward, she whispered to the stars. That's what makes us human. Outside her window, another ship departed for the void, carrying families who would build new worlds where freedom mattered more than safety. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity intended to see it all.